Have you heard the one about when Jesus stalked a psychic? Well, I wrote about it. I wrote a book. I wrote a booklet. Booklet. It's little. And it is available on Amazon. And I do have smaller versions like this that I got printed out in a local print shop so that I can distribute them for ministry. So, what is it all about? Well, I was indeed training to be a psychic once I moved to Sarasota. And I was going through classes. And I do believe that Jesus probably was stalking me even before I moved, even before I was going into training for being a psychic. I mean, when I was a teenager, I was training to do tarot cards and I was immersed within the supernatural. And I did not know the right direction to go into, but I did know that I heard and I saw and I felt things that most people didn't. So that's the route I chose. I went one direction, and throughout my path, I had encounters that I ignored, that I totally dismissed. I had many, many opportunities to, in my 46 years, to change my ways or change my path or go a different direction. And I just, decided against it. But there came a turning point in my life where that shifted. And so it's like I saw everything differently. And that's what this testimony is. And I'll tell you, to be honest, I didn't even know what a testimony was. I didn't know that word. I didn't understand that word. What it really is showing is where I was here and now I'm over here. Oh, how did that happen and what went down? So that is what this book is about. It is my testimony going from one kingdom to another and how Jesus kept showing up. I also wanted to do this video for old friends and family that you know who you are. I don't know. I love you guys. I love you all. And I'm not losing my mind. I feel that this was always supposed to happen. And I feel like God is definitely leading me into ministering to people that are coming from the New Age like I came. So the greatest thing about the Bible and Jesus and God and all of this stuff is that it is super supernatural. Like, I mean, he was raising people from the dead. It's super supernatural. So when I am coming from a world, when people are coming from a world where they understand spiritual development or spiritual supernatural things that are kind of on the outskirts, it's an easy jump. It's an easy jump to go from that spiritual understanding and that spiritual conversation into God, Jesus, the Bible, because that's the basis, that's the truth, that's the things that actually started all of that. And everything on the other side is really just stolen from Jesus and from the Bible. So I feel that so strongly, and that is really what I think my journey is. And you don't have to understand supernatural. You don't have to understand New Age to be stalked by Jesus. I think somebody did ask me though, like, why do you think there's so many like ex-New Agers coming into like this kingdom, into knowing God in a different way or in the true form? And I do see it as happening more and more often, and then they're speaking out more and more. But I think it's because they understand the world of spirituality, and they had this longing, and they knew that they were different, and they had knowledge in a world that sometimes Christians don't want to put their toe into or don't even understand, but is what in the Bible it speaks on so often. And so it was, I think, an easy jump for a lot of people to go from New Age to Christ. And then it's like once we're over on the side, we're intercessing and we're constantly praying to bring people in, to open their eyes, to soften their hearts. And that is really what my prayer is for a lot of individuals, is really forgiveness, to find forgiveness in our hearts, forgiveness for ourselves, forgiveness for others, forgiveness for God. Because it has nothing to do with anybody else. It has only to do with us. That we don't need their permission to forgive, and it's not condoning whatever happened. It's something that it has to get removed, so the anger and the bitterness and whatever is eating away at us has to get out of our heart. That makes our heart like almost, when there's scar tissue, it just hardens. And that's how our heart becomes, because of trauma, because of past hurts. And I do believe forgiveness is a big part of that. And then surrender. That's the one thing for 46 years I couldn't do. I didn't want to. I didn't like it. And I thought that was the hardest thing in this. But I've been doing a lot of research on surrender, or not a lot, but I've looked into surrender in a art of war kind of way. And when you think about surrender, when you talk about surrender, and people have said it to me, like, well, I gave it, I'm giving it all up. I'm done. I'm exhausted. Of course, I surrender. And that's great. But if you really look at the art of surrendering, or the art of war, and like how it plays out, you can't surrender into the ethers. You can't surrender to yourself. That's giving, just giving up. And that's what a lot of people do, is they give up. You have to literally surrender to something. So what are we surrendering to? A lot of people can surrender to alcohol, or surrender to eating or addiction of some sort. So we surrender and go that direction. Or we can just give up and surrender to nobody. But when you surrender to God and you give everything over to something bigger, greater, creator, it shifts things. And so that's my start. That's what I suggest. If that's anything you're interested in, look at forgiveness, where you need forgiveness in your life, and look at surrender and how you can give things over to someone greater than yourself. And I don't know, I'm here if anybody ever wants to ask any questions. I'm here if anybody wants to talk or argue with me or tell me I'm full of it. I'm here.